So I've seen a lot of this stuff. This was starting about last year, because the Basques have always interested me, or Skadu, or whatever they're called. They're very interesting people. Actually, there's a good documentary from the early 1960s that Orson Welles did. And before everything got modernized, 1960s Mexico, 1960s Basque country, 1960s South America, 1960s Europe for the most part, looked how it looked for the last, some cases, 200-300 years, and the traditional dress and everything was still there in full. But so it's kind of cool to see that. But last year, or maybe a little bit more than that, I saw this stuff about Irish DNA, Irish and Welsh DNA, and Basque DNA. As if that's some huge revelation. Oh, the Basques are related to the native British, the Welsh and the Irish. And there's some in England, because obviously the Anglo-Saxons didn't completely, there was some, a little bit of the Celtic blood left there. But then you also had the Normans, the Vikings, various groups of people, the French, and, well, the Normans were the French, but they're also the Vikings. But the Vikings were also a different class of people. Whatever. But if you look at, when you're talking about a people or even a race, it doesn't necessarily mean genetics, right? The Celts were across Europe. They were in northern Italy to Ireland. They were also had outposts in Anatolia, or modern day Turkey. They're also in what's now populated by Germanic peoples, right? Peoples move around. The Tartars and the Huns are from Mongolia, right? The Turkic people and Germanic people have a common ancestor. Not just in the Hun, because the Hun is not necessarily German, it's more Hungarian. But the Huns came from Mongolia. Now you go to Hungary and there's still people with almond-shaped eyes. Just like if you go to Cuba, oh, there's a lot of there's a lot of blood from the Iberian Peninsula down there. Just like there's a lot of Germans in Argentina. But the Celtic blood, the Celts are all over Europe, right? They actually had most of Europe before they got conquered almost to nowhere by the Latins. I know there's somebody in here that doesn't like me calling the Latins Latins, but the Latins kicked them out of the Iberian Peninsula, kicked them out of the north of Italy. They only occupy one spot in the Iberian, which is right next to the Navarre region, which is where the Basques are. But yeah, they would have common DNA. But that's not only what they have in common, right? They probably have some Latin DNA and some Germanic DNA. But their language and culture is so vastly different. I got in a discussion with somebody who tried to say, yeah, but Basque, because they say in the hardest languages to learn, and they didn't mention Basque. I said, well, what about Basque? And they said, oh, but that Basques live between France and Spain, so their language is a lot more common, just like French or Spanish. And I'd say, no, what are you kidding me? That's like saying, oh, Romanian and Bulgarian, since they're next to each other, it means they're in the same language of family. It's not like one's Slavic and one's Romantic. But yeah, it would be cool to say, oh yeah, I'm Irish, and I'm related to the Basques somehow, but that's probably common Gallic or Celtic people. Now, I'd like to see, scientific journals talking about this genetic testing, because so far it's just been YouTube or things on Wikipedia. I haven't really found anything on the Basque people and what that actually means, because there's data that you get, there's scientific data, and then how it's interpreted. I mean, just check out how certain fetishists in the government, whether it's, global warming is going to happen in 2 years, and we're going to be, it's day after tomorrow in 2 years, try to play with data, or a creationist or whatever. But it would actually be cool to see both sides, or one side and an opposing side talking, but discussing the data of what does this mean that there's relations in DNA to Basque people, to Welsh, to Irish. All right, peace to you. So they're not the same people, even if they have some things in common. I mean, there's some DNA that's probably going to line up across the board in Eurasia as it is, you know. You know, from the Chinese and the European are closer to each other than either of them are to sub-Saharan black Africans. That doesn't mean the Chinese and the, you know, English or the Chinese and the Italians are the same people. Peace to you.